we can get started. All right, good afternoon. My name is Tashonda Williamson, and this is the Subcommittee on Data for the Human Services Background Study Eligibility Task Force. Today is Friday, April the 29th, 2022 at 12 p.m. Mr. Vogel, can you please take a roll call?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Ms. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Kammer?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Mattson?
Here.
Thank you. Representative Mueller? Representative Mueller. Ms. Robertus? Ms. Robertus. Ms. Williamson?
Present.
All right, Madam Chair, for the 6 members are present, a quorum is present.
Perfect. I understand that I believe we have a couple of meeting minutes that we need to adopt. And so right now we just want to open it up if there's any clarifications so that we can look to move to adopt the previous meeting minutes. All right, and hearing none, the previous meeting minutes are adopted. Okay, so going forward, so today we had set to prepare to go into categorizing the data. As we were charged, we got somewhat of a shift of our initial task to gather the data to then go forward in analyzing the data. So therefore, we set to go into categorizing, and I know Vice Chair and others have done some additional work in regards to categorizing. And so we're looking in regards to requests that disqualify the DQ or disqualifying subcommittee, as well as the remedy subcommittee had made mention. So just want to open up discussion in regards to documents that have come as a result of those requests. Any questions about the document that Vice Chair recently had formulated?
No questions, but thank you for putting the document together.
It's amazing.
Appreciate you going through that.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting that 50% of 15-year disqualifications were for substance use crimes. It was, I mean, I thought that it was going to be really high, but to see that it was, 47 and 48% in 2018 and 2019 was pretty shocking. So, yeah, thanks for doing that, Will.
So in regards to categories, I'm just wondering, was there anything that any of the members wanted to, any suggestions any of the members wanted to make? I know I had mentioned earlier about in regards to crimes against people, crimes against crimes of poverty, as well as crimes of property. I know that there's been additional in regards to drug-related crimes. Just want to see, was there any other categories that any of the members thought would be interesting to raise or to look at? All right. So I do want to also just go ahead and open up just in regards to, I know on our agenda we have in regards to categorization by population group, just in regards to the samples that have been, where the data that we've received have been conducted, just wondering if there is another type of population group that should be focused on in regards to if there's additional data that need to be gathered, looking at other focuses or other population groups.
Madam Chair, we may have already discussed this, but is the other group, is this their time period in which they're looking at youth offenses? Or do we need to supply them with any disaggregated data?
Yeah, I know with disqualification subcommittee, they are focusing on juvenile delinquent. As far as specific, because I know like we've discussed as far as like admittance, that really falls a lot with stay of adjudications or stay of impositions. But I wonder, I'll defer to Mr. Vogel. Do you recall if there is specifics to you data that we've requested already, or that we could look to request?
Madam Chair, so I think the third DHS data set that where with the tables breaking down the disqualifying crimes or conduct by the evidentiary standards used are particularly useful. So we have data there on adjudication of delinquency as the basis for disqualification, and that spreadsheet I sent out a couple of weeks ago that ranked the top ranked disqualifying crimes in each category by adjudication might be particularly interesting if you're interested in juvenile crimes or conduct, because as I understand it, that's what an adjudication of delinquency represents. So if you'd like, I could resend out that document over email just to refresh the members' memory.
That may be helpful. Member Matson, would that be?
Yeah,
that be helpful?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That would be helpful. And also just wanted to note, most of the info that's come in on the public page, as far as, the stories have been of a similar theme, where there's been an offense that's followed someone from their youth, or at least that's what I seem to recall from memory. So for what it's worth, however, we're using those more qualitative pieces. And maybe we've already presented that to the group at large. I'm not sure, but that would likely be helpful.
No, I don't believe we have, just to that specific. So you make a really great point. I think too, and yeah, because we have a lot of qualitative work that's been done, and I know we're looking to, just as a whole, just really diving more into that quantitative research or study. So yeah, that's a very good point that you make. I do want, if no other questions or discussion, I do want to just give member Kammer, I know with you and Ms. Jill, the work that you have been doing, just want to just open the floor to you. If there's anything that you would like to say or
we
update.
haven't done anything new recently, but of course, I think if we have further direction, I mean, particularly with data set 4 or anything else that we need to dig in, happy to help out and analyze or do anything that would be useful to the committee or the full task force.
Yes, that's actually very, very good and exciting to hear. So
Chair
I'm
Williamson.
just gonna put a pin there. Yes, Vice Chair.
Yep. So there's a couple of additional things, like just looking at juvenile stuff that I've noticed. If you look at the 15-year disqualification in 2018, there was only about 183 adjudicated delinquent total. If you look at the 2019 adjudicated delinquent, it jumped up to about 382. And so somebody could do the math really quickly on that, but the change in like the ratio change in juvenile stuff compared to the change in adult seems to be much higher in those numbers. Like we noticed a noted increase between 2015 or 2018 and 2019 overall, but I think that jump in adjudicated delinquency is really high for the juveniles between those 2 years. And then, there's some other, I think pretty stark differences with juveniles that if we took the time to look at this data together, that we would notice. Like for 7-year disqualifications, 364 adjudicated delinquent cases. And I don't know, like it's lots of theft. It's lots of domestic assault, and not a lot, but some, and then 5th degree assaults that end up getting charged out. And it would be very interesting for us to look at how how that impacts Black and brown bodied kids in comparison to white bodied kids. Like I would love to look at the data on that around juveniles and be able to present that to disqualifications or the other group. Like that's the kind of stuff I feel like we should be feeding them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I like that. I like that a whole lot. It makes me wonder, just in regards to looking at, I don't know a politically correct way to say this, so I'm just gonna say it. Just, those white collar crimes or crimes that, tend to be more so from white bodies. It'll be really interesting to just see what data looks like in regards to that, or if there's a way to define that or to show variables of popular crimes per, race or culture, however. Like I said, I don't know a politically correct way to say that, but I think that would just be really interesting to give a comparison to.
Yep. And I think when we get to like sections of the work that those other two committees are doing, we can figure out how to work that in.
I'm just trying to think if we have the data laid out. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Mr. Member Campbell.
I was going to say, I just don't know if we have the data laid out in the way we'll need to take a look at adjudicated delinquency by race, because when we have the way I think it's been presented to us, we've got race, but we have race overall, but I don't think we have it broken down into the categories that would let us look at adjudicated delinquency by race.
Specifically.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
I think, yeah, because I'm going, as you were saying, I'm going, yes, let's look. And then I'm just trying to parse through it in my head.
It's overall, not by category.
Yeah, because I don't think the race has been broken down by category. And I just don't know that going back and asking DHS to break it down further, I imagine that would take
yeah,
a lot.
I don't think they would even give it to us because of privacy stuff, some of it anyway.
Makes sense if the categories are small. So
You're
I
right.
like the idea. I just don't know if we can feasibly do it.
Even just looking at this, though, you can also draw some correlations to the preponderance of evidence standard. You can look at the numbers and kind of, I know some of them are less than 10, so you didn't put them down, but it's obvious that it's, whatever the remainder is type thing. I don't know, it's a fairly high number, which in my mind would indicate that some of those adjudicated delinquents are being barred based on a preponderance of evidence versus a conviction. I don't know if that weighs differently in your mind, but it's just a point to note.
No, that's yeah, in and of itself. Yeah, like I said, I just wonder if there is a way that we, I get to Member Cameron's point, just with capacity and whatnot, but I just wonder if that's just something we could just chew on a little more as far as additional data to gather.
Madam Chair,
Please.
just to interject with two minor factual points. So in response to Ms. Evans' point about doing the math on the percentages there of adjudicated delinquent for 15-year disqualifications as a percentage of the total disqualifications, 18 and 19, the percentages are actually pretty similar. I just did the math. It's 6.16% versus 6.61%. So that 382 is a much larger absolute number than 183, but the numbers in general in those 2 years appear to have risen. And then, as the members were pointing out, yeah, I don't think we have like a racial breakdown of disqualifications by crime. But just to refresh your memory, I would like to point out Table 3 of the third DHS data set, which does break down what evidentiary standards were used by race, including adjudication of delinquency.
That's correct. Oh, that's good. Yes. So I just wonder, here it's Friday. So two things. I wonder just if there's any additional categories that we maybe should focus on that hasn't already been suggested. And then also just if there's any additional type of data that kind of comes to mind that we should be looking at trying to tee up, if you will.
Well, I liked how the PowerPoint broke it down to buckets versus, it's buckets of related crimes, which I think makes it easier to kind of digest. I don't know if we want to present something similar as far as youth is concerned. People versus property type thing.
Yeah, I would really be interested in just really fine tuning that.
And I think also finding a way to have those impact stories before the committee.
So important. So I do want to see about, for May, we were looking to get started on the data set 4. So I do want to, I believe that first meeting was set for May 13th. Mr. Bobo, please correct me if I have that wrong. But I do want to see about, as far as going forward, we did present that we will be going forward with bi-monthly meetings. And so I'm wondering, just more so for the 13th, that we can plan to meet, but also just kind of be open to other possibilities that that can happen just in regards to taking a deeper dive here. Because we definitely want to be strategic. So I more so just want to plant the seed that come our next meeting, we can just look to see about our duration going forward. So, and that's all I'm gonna say at this time. But I do want to, with Miss Cassane, I do want to just open it up if there's any updates that you have specific to requests that we've been kind of waiting on for a while in regards to support to the data or explanation to the data.
Thank you, Chair Williamson and members. I'm still working on the crosswalk between requests and what we've already provided. I apologize. Session is taking up a great deal of my time these days. I apologize for that. This is a priority, but I'm having to balance a number of items. There was another another request for data that was made, I believe it was last week, and our data team is figuring out a timeline for when they'll be able to provide that information. And I'll share that with Mr. Vogel as soon as I get word back from the data team about that. And there have been a few other questions and clarifications for the other subcommittees we've provided. And I've conveyed those to Mr. Vogel as well. If you have anything specific you'd like for me to track and to inquire about, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, just more so, I know you're going to check in regards to someone from the data team, giving some potential dates that they will be available to give further explanation.
Madam Chair, if you wouldn't mind, if it would help, I believe, setting sort of what their expectations for that availability would be, so that I can convey. You're wanting just an overall. I know you've discussed an overall presentation, but I'm just wondering if you have additional requests in that front.
Yeah, so we have submitted requests in regards to presentation, as well as just having someone from the data team to just be available to explain the data that's already been submitted. We were hoping that you all could just provide us some available dates.
Madam Chair and members, would that you would like a data team member available at one of the regular meetings?
Either one of the regular meetings, or just providing us, if not available for one of our task force meetings, to provide us some dates that said person would be available, just so that we can utilize that resource.
Okay. Madam Chair and members, I will make that, I will get in touch with the data team manager about that. And just, I am also available. I know it's not what you're requesting, but in the meantime, if you have specific questions, always please let me know. And I can make those direct inquiries on your behalf.
Yeah, we're looking for either confirmation for upcoming task force meetings or just providing us some dates. Like I said, that request was submitted a while ago, so just want to keep following up on that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Was there any other questions that anyone has at this time? Any further discussion? Vice Chair Evans, was there anything else that you wanted to state or?
Did we want to take a look at that that table together that Mr. Vogel brought up before, where we do have a little bit of race ethnicity data for adjudicated delinquent categorizations?
Yes, we could.
Might be good just to
Mr.
take a look at it together. Good memory. Good memory, Will. You
So members, this is a adjudication of delinquency by race for 2018. If you want to pull it up on your own end, this is page 5. Oh, sorry. Yep. And then the next page, sorry, 2 pages from that is 2019. So just focusing on 2018. Yeah, here are the breakdowns.
Yeah, but it's not by, oh yeah, no, it is.
It just doesn't have crime, but we can go back to the other data set to tell what that is, right? Am I wrong about that, or?
we could see what ones are included, but we won't be able to break it down still by crime because we don't have
Yes, okay.
these. Yeah.
So of the permanent crimes, there's a bunch of them are like less than 10s or whatever, but 44 of them that are permanent in 2008. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be crime by crime. We wouldn't be able to do it crime by crime.
Even having the whole to say these are crimes of person, crimes of property, to break that out into a pie chart, but then also to break this down to by race and ethnicity, wouldn't that be helpful to the overall group to see? I mean, I get what you're saying is we can't break down people and property into race and ethnicity, but it's still something for a visual to see. I mean, and the other impact to me is how many of those were based, well, and maybe that's a secondary thing, but preponderance of evidence versus conviction.
Yeah, this is that is just it's overwhelming, to say the least. You know, I just wonder, I'm just speaking freely here. I just wonder, like, if we were to look at, like, if we were to look at, you know, I don't know. This is my opinion here. This is solely my opinion. But looking at like certain crimes, like, and I've mentioned this before, like looking at incest or looking at like embezzlement, things of that nature, and just being able to look at the breakdown for of those, you know, those examples and ones like them, and just seeing how that disaggregates, I think will really be interesting.
Can you say a little bit more about what part of that you want disaggregated?
I was saying just in regards to, like, for an example, you take a crime of like embezzlement, right? Um, and then being able to look at the breakdown and disaggregate that particular crime to look and see. And again, like I said, I'm going off of my opinion. But for the example purposes, we look and see that that has a higher rate of white bodies, right? And then go to look and see that embezzlement isn't even in part of the statute as far as qualifying or meeting the criteria for a permanent or a 15 or 5, I just, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep, yep.
Well, so with that being said, just as we have this discussion, anything else that comes to mind? Any clarifying questions? Do y'all like to open up the floor to you if there's anything that you'd like to?
I don't
to make
have
anything?
anything to add at this point. I'm just thumbing through all of the tables and just making some notes of those people versus property and then race and disqualification things that we're looking to decipher at this point. So
Thank
just
you.
keeping track of the conversation.
Thank you. So much. There's so much. Okay, so with that, if there is no further ads as far as the categories, we can then just move to adjourn in preparation for our May meeting. So the agenda will come out prior to, and let me see, when is our next task force meeting, Mr. Vogel?
Madam Chair, it's next week, May 6th.
Okay, yes. Okay. All right. So we'll just, in anticipation of our full task force meeting, and if that other data that was requested is provided, our agenda will be set as far as our meeting in May, and the focus that we'll have. Just because there's, things that can come up from now until then that can really kind of shift the focus. So with that being said, we can move to adjourn. Unless there was anything else anyone had to say or ask.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.